Welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Lori Pierce. Today's guest is Alvaro Macias, Community Development Manager of Ascentra Credit Union. Alvaro, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You are, well, sure. Today we're going to talk about money tips for young adults. So tell us briefly about Ascentra Community Credit Union and what you do in the community.
Well, my job at Ascentra is to basically talk about financial literacy, financial education with people of all ages and all backgrounds. One of the things that we see a lot is young people not knowing how to manage their finances.
Sure.
And it's usually they're not learning it from their parents because their parents are still trying to figure things out. So that's one focus and area that I try to work with the youth and especially college students as well.
Yeah, that's very important. What would you give a recommendation for money management for young adults?
For young adults, basically, if they haven't been fortunate enough to have their parents teach them about how to plan and spend, to seek out opportunities to learn, whether it's at their school or even online. If eventually, as they're starting their life, they will have to learn how to manage a credit card or open up a checking account, savings account, and eventually pay down debt and loans. So just basically be open to learn and seek out people who can help them.
Right. And you think they need special attention because maybe they're just not learning it at home or elsewhere?
Well, they definitely do. One of the highest percentage of individuals filing for bankruptcy are people between 18 to 34. So it's right in the time when they're starting their financial lives when a lot of people are really struggling. So that's where the work I do, I try to work with individuals so that they can have a solid financial foundation. Really, you know, I can talk about this with individuals as for hours still. I'm blue in the face, but what it comes down to is putting some of the tips and tricks into practice. And as you know, there's plenty of information out there on the internet people can use. It's just actually putting it to use that matters.
Right. So how do you feel the spending with this group, their spending might impact our community or our future in the economy?
Well, it really impacts our whole community in general. If families are not managing their money right or living beyond their means, eventually they will come to a crossroad where they won't be able to pay down debt.
Sure.
If they don't have a safety net of savings, they may find themselves in situations where if they were to lose a job or let's say a disability could take them out of the workforce, they could be left stranded in real financial, a tough financial situation. So they really need to be prepared and just educate themselves and reach out to organizations that are putting information out there. There are a lot of places that they can go to.
Sure. Yeah, and it's a good thing because it seems like this age group gets really targeted for credit cards.
Yes, in fact, it wasn't long ago that they introduced legislation so that credit card companies could not go to colleges and give out a free T-shirt in order for kids to get a credit card.
Yeah.
Certain things were put in place so that people can be better consumers. In fact, nowadays on a credit card statement, it will tell you how long it will take you to pay off a credit card bill if you only pay the minimum payment and what that really amounts to. So those are the things that you can look at to decide, well, should I be making more than the minimum payment or should I be trying to pay this down? And those things do help. Again, there's been legislation to help with that stuff, but it really comes down to the individuals putting good financial habits into place.
Sure. That's good to hear. I know when I was in college, it was easy to get a credit card, and I have teenagers, so I'm glad to hear that they've put that in place. That's wonderful. So what about the challenges for student loans, top of credit cards? You know, these kids have student loans.
Definitely. Student loans, well, you know, they're a good thing. It's, I guess, a good form of debt because it can position you to have a bright future, a bright career. But there's also scholarships. There's other ways you can look at helping to pay for your college tuition, maybe even doing work study programs. Many colleges have those opportunities available. And I guess it's really doing a lot of research, going out there and talking to the financial aid departments and other people who have gone to college to get a little guidance. Myself, from my personal experience, my parents didn't go to college, so they couldn't help me in that aspect.
Sure.
But there was other individuals that I looked to that helped me plan for college. And really, on my own personal take, the only thing I only regret is not applying for more scholarships.
Sure, yeah.
And it really, what you can tell people is, well, right now I am still paying some of that debt.
Yeah.
It takes a very long time to pay it off, and it's really pushing some younger people to, I guess, start their families at a later time in their lives, to purchase a home later in their lives. And you know, so it's good to be talking about those things with your parents. And if your parents don't have the know-how, talk to individuals, educators, or other individuals that can help you through that process.
Yeah. I think another great thing to talk with them about is like long-term savings or even retirement. Do you think a lot of them even think about that right now?
Well, it's tough for them to think about it when they have bills that need to be paid at the end of the month. But yes, especially when you're young, one thing we can talk about is compounding interest. What does that mean? You do have years to let your money grow, and when it really makes a big impact and it just grows tremendously, it's later in life, once you've been saving. So telling them to take advantage of any employee-sponsored 401k programs or matching programs that, you know, while it might be a little tough in their younger years to put a lot into it, still try and take advantage of those things and to see what's available.
So I know you've really hit on a lot of key topics, but is there any other suggestions or advice you'd give them?
For young people, basically is just try and be more money savvy and learn about those tips. You can seek out information anywhere, whether it's Pinterest, on Twitter. Start following certain financial gurus out there. There's so many books on financial education and planning your finances that are sold every year, the best sellers. But yet we find ourselves struggling with finances. Really, it's just being practical, putting things into place. Living within your means is the most important thing. A lot of times people get out of college, or let's say they graduate high school and they want to join the workforce. Well, they want to furnish their apartment, get a new car. Well, you really have to look at what you really can afford, what you really need, and what you want, and just basically be sure that you're living within your means.
So basically that's kind of what they need to do right out of high school and college. Any other suggestions for when they get out of college to start saving right away, or what would you recommend for them?
Well, I would say find a trusted financial partner. That could be the difference between paying eventually when they get an auto loan or a mortgage. If they have a relationship with a trusted financial partner, then it'll be an easier process for them. They can help them out in ways that, you know, somebody, if they were to apply online for a loan somewhere they don't know, it's just making those relationships. Those things matter, and just do your own research, learn about your finances, and also being honest with yourself. If you have a habit of buying the newest, a new pair of shoes every other week, well, if you can't break that habit, well, what does it mean for your finances? Does that mean you eat out less? Does that mean you need a better paying job? Or if you can afford it, well, you know, just make sure that you're budgeting for those sort of things. So, yeah, just being honest with yourself on how you spend.
Sure. So is there any way you could recommend they could protect their credit?
As far as protecting their credit, there are certain things that they can do to not only protect it from having that credit number go down, but also help improve it. Making sure that they're making payments on time, especially credit card payments. They will be the first one to report when you're late over 30 days or
Right.
whatnot. Also, loans, if you have an auto loan or a mortgage with your credit union, just make sure you're paying those things on time because eventually you might need other services, so you want to be in good with those places. And really, what it comes down to your history. If you are younger, you're not going to have a long history, so it's okay to, let's say, have a store card or a credit card that you get right when you turn 18 that could help you establish that credit. And 10 years later, when you're 28, well, now you have 10 years of credit history, and that will definitely help you as well. So the other thing young people don't want to do is opening up too many lines of credit in a short amount of time. And another bad thing is opening up, let's say, a line of credit and maxing it out right away. Those things don't look great. So just being methodical, being sensible, and just take up as much credit and debt as you can handle.
Yeah. So maybe staying on top of their credit report also?
Yes, and actually people can get their credit report for free every year. There are some companies that charge or put them into a special program. I'd shy away from those, but also there are some credit card companies that might give you your credit score, or when you get a loan, they'll go through your report. If you go to the credit union and get a loan, they'll go through your report and you can see what your score is, and that's how they base the rates on your loan. So there's many ways of getting your report.
Is there anything else before we close that you would like to kind of drive home with the viewers about credit and about our young adults?
Well, if you're a parent and you have a young adult, basically be looking for opportunities to teach them about finances. If they are going off to college, or that's where they're probably going to get those offers or credit cards. So maybe go over the statement and explain to them what it means when they're only paying their minimum payment. What does that mean? If they're in their high school, there's different stages in life that you can talk to your children. If they're in high school, well, that's the time when they'll want to go to the mall and spend some money. Maybe they'll be taking their first jobs. They'll be working a part-time job and getting a paycheck and not understand, well, what does FICA mean? What is this tax? I thought I was getting paid much more than this. Well, there's taxes, there's Social Security, things that you can sit down and explain to your children that is basically part of life. You cannot escape this, get used to it, and so there's many moments that you can teach them about finances. Just prepare them, and that's one good way to start.
Sure. One quick question I think I do have is, when would you recommend even younger children start, savings, opening up an account?
Really, you can start. I started with my 3-year-old. Well, she's 6 now, but when she was 3 years old, I got her account, and with her own little piggy bank. So every time she found a coin, I would teach her, where does this go? It goes in the piggy bank. So she got used to that habit, and she doesn't understand financial concepts, but she understood that you save, you find that, and you put it in the piggy bank. So you're at that stage. I was teaching her the basics of saving. Now, as she's a little older, if she wants something at the store, some of the things that I have to explain to her is, well, we're here to buy things that we need, not things that we want.
Correct.
So when you logically explain to them why they can't have something right now, it really, they really understand, and they're less likely to throw a fit at the store.
That's right.
So it just depends on the stages, and so there's different. I guess different ages, and depending on their maturity level, that you can start. So it really comes down to your child, how receptive they are to those things.
Well, Alvaro, thank you so much for your time. This was such an important subject, and I'm glad that you came in to talk with us. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time on Joy in Our Town.
See these hands? They grip the wheel of a Humvee in Afghanistan.
These hands? 6 years treating soldiers.
12 years flying choppers.
We know you're strong, but sometimes you need a helping hand. You served us. Now let us serve you. The Iowa City VA Healthcare System.
More than 600 people are living with HIV and AIDS in the Quad Cities.
Over 150 of them don't know it.
The project at the Quad Cities provides support to hundreds of individuals and their families in Iowa and Illinois.
We've performed thousands of confidential HIV tests and helped HIV-positive mothers give birth to 18 HIV-negative babies.
Our mission, your life, the project of the Quad Cities, committed to action in the battle against HIV, STI, AIDS.
Welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Lori Pierce. Today we're welcoming Alvaro Macias, Community Development Manager of Ascentra Credit Union. Alvaro, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lori.
Yes, how are you today?
Just fine, just happy to be here and sharing some of our financial topics with you.
Wonderful, we're glad to have you. So we're talking today about credit and spending plans. Can you give me some information?
Yeah, basically credit is the thing that will affect how much you're going to spend in your lifetime when you borrow money. So it is a very important thing to know about and understand how it works. You don't have to know all the things that go into making it happen, but at least know that there are people out there that can help you understand it when you need to access it. And a spending plan can help you manage your credit as well.
Sure. Well, could you tell me briefly about Ascentra Credit Union and what you guys do out in the community?
Well, Ascentra Credit Union is a not-for-profit financial cooperative, which means we're not owned by shareholders or stockholders. We're owned by the members who are part of our credit union, and that's how all credit unions are. It's a different philosophy. There's a big emphasis on giving back to the community and doing things to educate people on financial topics so that they can have a nice financial foundation, and so that they can make smart financial decisions, and when they need help, we are there to help them.
Yeah. Well, can you share with us what a credit score is and why it really matters?
Well, the credit score, it's a number that will affect what kind of rates you get when you ask for loans, whether it's a mortgage, an auto loan, a personal loan, or a credit card. Now, some individuals who have great credit can get these loans at very reduced rates because they have certain characteristics that are good for somebody who's letting them borrow the money. Yeah. Others who have bad credit scores or lower credit scores, they will probably have to pay higher interest, and in their lifetime, the same loan that one individual with a different credit score could pay could be in the upwards of tens of thousands of dollars more.
Sure.
So that's where it matters. The credit score is something that at our credit union and other financial institutions, we talk to our members about when they're applying for loans. We discuss how they can improve it if they need to improve it, or somebody who might be denied for a loan. We'll discuss what are the things that you need to do so that you can get this loan, let's say, in 6 months from now.
Sure.
So we don't just basically leave people hanging. Those are the kind of things that we do when we educate people about their credit score.
Sure. If someone wanted to go out and get a loan, but they wanted a little bit more information before they actually went out, is there any way they can find out their credit score?
Yes, actually, there are certain services out there, but they tend to charge that will give you a credit report and your credit score. There's also some credit card companies that will provide you a credit score from one of the reporting agencies. There's 3 different agencies out there. Some institutions will use one or a combination of all 3 of them. It just varies from institution to institution. But yeah, there's different ways people can get them. Usually when you go apply for a loan, that's the first thing that a financial institution will look at. What is your credit score and what is your credit report? Basically what it is, it's your report card. So if you've been doing good, you're more likely to get the preferred rate. If you haven't been doing good, well, then you might have to pay higher interest, which means more money, or in some cases people will be denied getting access to credit because of their credit score.
So we get report cards the rest of our life, don't we?
Exactly. It doesn't stop when we graduate.
That's right. Well, do you see any money trends in the Quad Cities at all?
Well, here in the Quad Cities, we do have a large blue-collar workforce that sometimes when the economy takes a downturn, or even other parts of the world might be affected, well, it could impact, a large portion of our workforce. We're fortunate that it is somewhat diverse, but just, we've had situations where if we get hit hard, you have workers who may be laid off and have to figure out how they're going to pay their bills. But then there's times where people, when the economy is good, and people get overtime work, and so they're making a lot more money than what they're used to.
Right.
So basically, being able to navigate through that and learn from previous things that have happened in our economy, because as a financial institution, we would be affected if a majority of our members, let's say, get laid off, and they can't make their payments.
Sure.
Well, that'll affect us.
Right.
So it's all intertwined. So again, it's in our best interest to make sure that people are making the right financial decisions.
Right. What are some of the leading causes of financial troubles?
One of the leading causes for people to get in trouble with their finances is just living beyond their means.
Right.
What do they do when they want to keep up with the Joneses? Well, that's when they start racking up credit card debt or taking unnecessary loans. And really, you have to take a honest look at what you really need and what you want, and you got to make those decisions.
Right.
Does it mean that you have to cut your cable or satellite bill, or does it mean maybe you do a staycation instead of planning for a big vacation? What are the things you need to do so that you are living within your means? Maybe not eat out as much, or maybe just only when you go shopping for clothes, only when things are on sale.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can do to stay within your means, but that's the one thing that gets people in trouble, just living beyond their means. That's not a sustainable way to live, and it gets a lot of people in trouble.
Yeah. Do you think people know, they realize how much debt they are in? Or do you think people just spend and they don't really realize how much debt they are actually accumulating?
Well, it's a number of factors. Some people probably know it and they just don't care, simply just don't care. And there might be others that do have every good intention of paying that debt off, but ultimately they just find themselves taking from another line of credit, another credit card, and slowly but surely they find themselves in these situations where they're $40,000 to $50,000 in debt, high interest debt,
right.
and they just can't get themselves out of it on their own. But there are services out there that can help, and we actually do partner with another organization that can help people in those extreme cases, and we've had some great success stories of individuals who find themselves in those really tough situations and are able to put together a plan that helps them get out of that.
That's great, because it seems like everybody always gets credit card offers in the mail, which just it compounds and compounds the problem.
Yeah, and really the credit cards are not a bad thing. What it is the way people are using them. So if you know how to use credit cards, that's great. You pay them off in a timely manner. But if you're just transferring from one to the other or staying afloat with them, that's when things get rough, and you really have to make some tough decisions quickly before you get into the deep end, and it's really hard for you to get out of that.
Yeah, because if people ignore their problems, they're not going to go away. Unfortunately, they'll just compound.
Exactly, and like I mentioned, we've run into people who are in those situations, but there is help. Now, you can help people get out of those tough financial situations, but they also have to make changes. You can't expect to, go through a whole process of helping you get out of those tough situations and then go back to the same habits that got you there in the first place. So really, people have to take a honest look and make some changes in their lives to live a financially sound life.
Would you say that there's money personalities in the way people spend?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you have people who might need just name brand everything, and so or the status mobile, Well, yeah, I mean, that's a type of money personality. You have other people who are very frugal with their money, and they have a lot of money, but people, if you look at them, you would never know it. So those are exactly money personalities. The way you carry yourself, that latte that's $5 every morning, well, that's your money personality.
Sure.
If you can afford it, great. If you can't, well, then you might have to adjust that personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a little bit.
Do you think there's enough financial education for people, or do you think they just end up getting in trouble and then they learn from there?
Well, I don't think there's enough out there. Even in growing up, I don't recall too much in our schools. We do, where I work, we sponsor financial literacy programs. It's a program called Bonsai, where it's a module where students get a paycheck, and it's geared towards middle to high school students. They get a steady paycheck, and then they are thrown in life scenarios where they might get a parking ticket, or they want to go to a concert, and really they have to figure out, how am I going to manage this little paycheck that I get so I can do the things that I want, and also not get in trouble for not paying my parking ticket.
Sure.
So it's a really neat component that has booklets and an online module that ties it all together. So we're doing our part, but yeah, ultimately it's not everywhere. It's not something that is in every school system.
Right.
So.
That's a wonderful program, though. Do you have any closing thoughts about credit that you would like to share with us?
Basically, if people just want to learn more about their credit, there's so many resources online, whether it's just going on an online search on Google, YouTube, or even Pinterest. There's so many financial tips, even things that people call life hacks, how to save money by refurbishing things in your house, and also look for those teachable moments with your kids. If you learn some of these great tips, just teach your children, because eventually they're gonna follow in your footsteps. So if you have a good financial foundation, and your kids see that, then they're more likely to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah. Well, Alvaro, thank you so much for these wonderful tips you gave us today. And viewers, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Joy in Our Town.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.
You're watching TBN, part of the Trinity Broadcasting family of networks.